My private wish to marry her was just a thought, until she turned around and said yes. The station was massive, stretching miles in every direction, a hive of activity with humans and aliens moving in constant patterns. Humans were a minority here, not because there weren't many of them, but because many alien species considered humans simple in politics, diplomacy, and social grace. But Jadden didn't mind. He had his machines, his repairs, and his little routines. And he had Lyra, though she didn't know it. Lyra was brilliant. She worked as a diplomat, representing human interests among alien factions. She had sharp intelligence, a quick smile, and a presence that made even the most arrogant alien leaders pause. To Jadden, she was more than brilliant, she was inspiring. And for years, in quiet moments when no one could see, he had carried a private wish in his heart. That one day, maybe, she would notice him, not as a fellow human colleague, not as a helper, but as something more. He had never spoken it aloud. The thought existed only in the quiet corners of his mind, in the small pauses of his workday, in the nights when he stared at the stars through his small cabin window. Today, though, something felt different. He was in the engine room, crouched over a damaged energy conduit. Sparks flew from a malfunctioning panel, lighting the dark room with blue flashes. Sweat ran down his forehead, mixing with the oil smudges on his skin. It was just another routine repair, except that the aliens overseeing the station's operations had been making their usual comments about humans, emotional simplicity. Humans are not capable of understanding complex negotiations, one alien delegate had said earlier that day, in a clipped voice that carried across the command deck. Jadden clenched his teeth. He wanted to respond, to shout, but the words stuck. Humans were underestimated all the time, and yet, somehow, they always proved themselves when it mattered. He thought of Lyra and felt a spark of determination. Not only would he prove the aliens wrong, but maybe, just maybe, he could find the courage to make his private wish a reality. A soft hum of footsteps alerted him. He looked up. There she was, Lyra, standing at the entrance to the engine room. Her blonde hair caught the light from the sparking panels and her expression was calm, focused. "Jadden," she said, her voice carried easily, confident but gentle. "I need your help." Jadden's heart skipped a beat. "Of course," he said, standing quickly. "What is it?" She stepped closer, pointing to the console he had just repaired. "We've detected a problem with the energy distribution to the diplomatic quarters. It's unstable, and if it fails tonight, the aliens will notice. We can't afford that embarrassment." He nodded, though his mind raced in a different direction. She was asking for his help. She trusted him. Together, they worked, side by side. Jadden explained his process in simple terms, showing her how the conduits were linked and why certain energy surges could cause failures. Lyra listened, asking questions that showed intelligence and curiosity. Not once did she look at him as if he were less capable, quite the opposite. "You always make it look easy," she said finally, a small smile tugging at her lips. Jadden felt heat rise in his chest. He had never heard those words directed at him before. Most of the time, humans were overlooked. But she was different. Lyra saw humans not as simple creatures, but as capable, resourceful, and even admirable. It's just what I do," he stammered, suddenly aware of how awkward he sounded. "You're modest," she said, still smiling. "I like that, and you're brilliant." He could hardly believe it. Was she really complimenting him? His private wish, the one he had never spoken aloud, seemed suddenly within reach. Before he could respond, a loud alarm blared across the station. Red lights flashed and the hum of machinery grew frantic. Something was wrong. Lyra's eyes sharpened. "Jadden, we have an emergency in the outer docking bay. A supply ship is failing to dock properly. If it crashes, it could take out half the station's energy grid." He swallowed hard. "I'll go. Show me the way." The two of them rushed toward the docking bay, navigating the crowded corridors. Humans and aliens alike scrambled to respond to the emergency. Jadden's mind worked quickly, analyzing the energy feedback loops and structural weaknesses. He could feel the tension of every moment, every decision. When they arrived, the scene was chaotic. Sparks flew, and the supply ship shuddered violently as it approached the station. Alien engineers hesitated, unsure of what to do. Jadden stepped forward. "Move aside," he said, with more confidence than he felt. "I know how to stabilize it." Lyra nodded, trusting him completely. Together, they coordinated a quick plan. Jadden climbed into the maintenance hatch of the docking system, rerouting energy flows with rapid precision. Lyra relayed his instructions to the crew outside. Minutes felt like hours, but eventually, the supply ship shuddered one last time and settled safely into the docking bay. Relief washed over the station like a tidal wave. The aliens who had been critical of humans earlier looked on with quiet respect. They had underestimated Jadden and by extension humans again. Lyra turned to him, eyes bright with admiration. "You did it. That was amazing." Jadden felt his chest swell. The private wish in his heart, the one he had hidden even from himself at times, felt stronger than ever. She had seen him, not as a background engineer, not as a simple human, but as someone capable, brave, and worthy of notice. Thank you," he stammered, trying to keep his voice steady. I just did what needed to be done." She smiled, a full, genuine smile that reached her eyes. "You always do more than expected, Jadden. I've noticed that. I've noticed you." He blinked. His heart raced. Could this be real? Could his private wish, the quiet hope he had carried through lonely nights, actually be noticed, appreciated, maybe even reciprocated? Before he could respond, the station's communications crackled. Another message from the Alien Council arrived, this one addressed to humans and aliens alike. Humans have demonstrated resourcefulness under pressure. Their capabilities cannot be underestimated. Further cooperation is advised. Jadden felt a thrill of pride. Not only had he helped Lyra and saved the docking bay, but humanity had just earned a small measure of respect from aliens who had long dismissed them. He looked at Lyra. I think I need to tell you something." She tilted her head, curiosity and amusement in her eyes. "Oh." Jadden took a deep breath. He had spent so long hiding this thought, this private wish, that it almost felt dangerous to say it aloud. But the moment felt right. The station, the chaos, the recognition of humans' value, it all gave him courage. I've always admired you," he said slowly. "More than just as a colleague, more than just a friend. And I've hoped maybe that one day," he trailed off, unsure if he could finish the sentence without sounding foolish. Lyra's smile softened. She placed a hand on his arm. "Jadden," she said gently, "I think I understand and I appreciate your honesty." Jadden felt a rush of hope, of possibility. His private wish, once locked away in silence, had finally been voiced. He didn't know what would happen next, but for the first time, he felt that maybe, just maybe, it could come true. The station lights flickered overhead, and the stars outside the observation windows of Elysium Station seemed to twinkle a little brighter. In that moment, amidst chaos and duty and the endless expanse of space, Jadden realized that humans weren't just surviving in the galaxy. They were capable of amazing things. And maybe, just maybe, his private wish was about to become something more than a thought. The calm of Elysium Station didn't last long. Just a day after Jadden's private confession to Lyra, the station received an emergency alert. A rogue alien faction, the Kryvans, notorious for underestimating humans, had sent an unannounced fleet toward the station. Their attack wasn't meant to destroy the humans outright. It was designed to humiliate them in front of the Galactic Council. "Humans are weak," one of the Kryvan commanders had declared over intercepted communications. "They will crumble under pressure. Let us show them their place." But humans had a habit of surprising the galaxy. Jadden and Lyra were in the station's observation deck when the alarms rang. The vast expanse of space stretched before them, lit with the cold light of distant stars and the harsh glint of the Kryven fleet moving in formation. Lyra's eyes narrowed. This isn't a small raid. They want to make an example of us, if we're not careful. Jadden put a hand on her shoulder. Then we won't be careless. Humans solve problems differently. They expect the unexpected, and that's exactly what we'll give them. Her gaze softened. I like that about humans and you. He felt a brief, private thrill, but there was no time to dwell on it. Duty called. The station shuddered as the Kryvens fired their first salvo. Energy shields flared, absorbing the initial impact, but the shockwaves rippled through corridors and docking bays. Jadden sprinted to the engineering core, Lyra at his side. The engineers were in chaos. Alien technicians froze in confusion, their protocols failing to account for the human improvisation that was now required. "Everyone stay calm," Jadden shouted. "Follow my instructions exactly." He moved with fluid precision, rerouting energy flows, stabilizing damaged conduits, and overriding the station's automated defense systems. He explained each step in simple terms, making sure even the non-human crew could understand. Lyra observed him, impressed. "You're incredible," she said, almost breathless. "How do you think this fast?" Jadden smiled briefly. "Humans have to adapt, it's how we survive." The Kryvens were confident. Their fleet was massive, their ships equipped with devastating weaponry. They had expected humans to panic, to hide, to crumble. Instead, humans like Jadden moved like a single mind, adapting faster than the Kryvens could anticipate. Jadden and Lyra worked together seamlessly. He handled the technical side. She coordinated communications and logistics. The station became a ballet of problem-solving. Every moment was tense, but the human combination of ingenuity, bravery, and calm focus turned disaster into opportunity. At one point, a damaged section of the station's shield generator began to fail. A massive energy surge threatened to overload the system, potentially destroying the station. Jadden analyzed it in seconds. "We'll have to manually redirect the energy," he said. "I'll go. Lyra, guide the crew from here." She hesitated. "It's too dangerous." He shook his head. "If I don't do this, we're all in danger. Trust me." She nodded reluctantly. "I trust you." He climbed into the generator chamber. Sparks flew, machinery hummed dangerously close to meltdown, and the heat pressed against his suit. But Jadden worked calmly, rerouting power lines and resetting safety protocols. Every move required precision, courage, and confidence under pressure. Outside, Lyra coordinated communication with the rest of the station. "Jadden, you're doing it. Keep going." Minutes passed, each one stretching longer than the last. Then, finally, the generator stabilized. The shields flared back to full strength, protecting the station from the Kryven's attack. Jadden climbed out, exhausted but triumphant. Lyra ran to meet him, her face alight with admiration. "You saved the station. Humans saved the station." He shook his head, panting. "We all did it together. Humans, aliens, everyone who didn't give up." But there was no mistaking it. The aliens watching now, the Kryvens included, had seen something unexpected. Humans were not weak. They were adaptable, brave, and clever. They had the creativity to survive what no one thought possible. Lyra's eyes softened. She reached out and touched his arm gently. "Jadden, I've never seen anyone move like that. You're amazing." His heart raced. Every private wish he had ever held, the quiet hope, the unspoken longing, felt closer than ever. She noticed him, truly noticed him, not just as a human, but as someone extraordinary. But the crisis was not over. The Kryvens were persistent. Another salvo hit, and this time it targeted the docking bays. Ships carrying essential supplies and personnel shook violently. Alarms screamed. Jadden didn't hesitate. "We need to protect the docks." "Lyra, can you help coordinate the defense ships?" She nodded, her confidence in him absolute. "I'll handle it. Go save the bays." He ran, his mind racing. There were humans trapped in the corridors. Alien engineers were struggling with emergency protocols. Using a combination of ingenuity and instinct, Jadden guided them through safety procedures, repaired critical systems on the fly, and even used discarded supply crates to redirect energy surges in a makeshift but effective shield. Lyra from the control room tracked his progress. Every time Jadden's quick thinking prevented disaster, her admiration grew. She realized that humans had a unique advantage. They could improvise, adapt, and act decisively when everything seemed lost. Finally, the docking bays stabilized. Ships were secure and no one was injured. The Cryvans, frustrated and shocked, began to pull back. They had underestimated the humans completely. The station was battered but intact. And somewhere in the chaos, Jadden and Lyra found a quiet moment in a small observation chamber. The stars stretched endlessly outside, distant and serene compared to the recent chaos. Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. You risked everything. Not just for yourself, not just for humans, but for everyone. I've never seen someone like you. Jadden swallowed hard. I did what I had to do. I couldn't let anyone get hurt, and I didn't want to fail you. Her hand brushed his. You didn't fail. You proved something important, not just to me, but to the whole galaxy. Humans are not weak, they are remarkable. The words struck him. His private wish, the one he had kept hidden for so long, felt like it was finally within reach. She didn't just see humans, she saw him and the possibility of something more. Lyra, he began, voice low, hesitant. There's something else I need to tell you, something personal. Her gaze softened. I think I already know, Jadden, but I want to hear it from you. He took a deep breath. I've admired you for a long time, more than a colleague, more than a friend, and I've secretly hoped that one day maybe you'd feel the same. Lyra smiled gently, her eyes warm. Jadden, I see you. I've seen your courage, your kindness, your determination. And yes, I've felt something too, something I didn't expect, but I can't ignore it. His heart leapt. The private wish he had buried in silence, the quiet hope he had never dared to speak, was alive. And for the first time, it didn't feel like a wish. It felt like a possibility. But even as relief and joy washed over him, Jadden knew the galaxy was unpredictable. The Cryvans were still out there, plotting, watching, waiting for the next moment to strike. Humans had proven their worth, but the road ahead was uncertain. Still, he didn't care. He had Lyra's trust, admiration, and perhaps even her affection, and he had proven in the harshest circumstances that humans were not to be underestimated. Lyra took his hand, squeezing it gently. No matter what happens, Jadden, humans are capable of incredible things. You've shown me that, and maybe together we can face whatever comes next. Jadden nodded, a smile breaking across his face. For the first time, he felt completely seen, not just as a human, not just as an engineer, but as someone capable of courage, ingenuity, and love. And for the first time, his private wish felt like it could become something real. Outside the observation windows, the stars continued their endless dance. The Cryvans might attack again, and the galaxy might test humanity in ways they couldn't imagine. But Jadden knew one thing with certainty. Humans would rise. They would adapt. They would fight. They would survive. And sometimes, in the vastness of space, private wishes could become reality. The calm after the attack was brief. Elysium Station, though secure for now, had suffered damage. Energy conduits hummed irregularly, docking bays bore scorch marks, and the entire station was tense with vigilance. Even so, there was a sense of triumph among humans and those aliens who had witnessed the events. Humanity had proven itself. Jadden walked through the corridors alongside Lyra, feeling the weight of exhaustion in his limbs, yet an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. They had survived the Cryvan's assault, stabilized the station, and most importantly, demonstrated the quiet strength humans possessed. Lyra glanced at him, eyes sparkling with something deeper than relief. You know, Jadden, I don't think I've ever met a human or anyone like you. He smiled, trying to hide how much her words meant. I'm just doing my best like any human would." "No," she said firmly. "You're not like any human. You're extraordinary, and not just in battle. You think, you feel, you care. That's something many beings, alien and human alike, rarely show in full measure." Jaden's heart skipped. Her attention, her admiration, it was no longer quiet or hidden, it was real. The private wish he had nurtured in silence, the one he had whispered to the stars on long nights, now felt tangible. They reached the observation deck, where the stars stretched endlessly beyond the massive glass panels. The planet below spun silently, oceans shimmering under distant sunlight. Jaden exhaled slowly, feeling the enormity of the galaxy around him and the smallness of himself in comparison. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "You know, there's something humans do that always surprises me." He looked at her, curious. "What's that?" "Even when everyone expects them to fail, they don't give up. You don't give up. You improvise, you fight, you adapt. That's remarkable. And it's something the galaxy often underestimates." Jaden swallowed. "That's humans, that's all we have. We learn, we adapt, we survive. And we care, maybe that's our real strength." Lyra nodded, her hand brushing against his. "It is, and that's why I need to say something, Jaden, something I should have said before." His stomach fluttered. Could it be? "I've been watching you," she continued, "through all of this. Not just your work, not just your bravery, but you, your heart, your courage, your everything. And I realized," she paused, looking at him in a way that made him feel like the only person in the galaxy. "I realized I've felt more than respect for a long time, and I want to be with you." Jaden's mind went blank for a moment, then raced with disbelief, joy, and hope. You mean?" Lyra smiled, stepping closer. "Yes, I mean it. I want to be with you, Jaden. Not just as a colleague, not just as a friend, but as more. If you'll have me." He could hardly believe it. The private wish he had carried through lonely nights, the quiet longing that had seemed impossible to speak aloud, had been answered. Her words were clear, simple, and powerful. "Yes," he said, his voice steady despite the storm of emotion inside him. "Yes, Lyra, I've dreamed of this for so long." Her smile widened and she reached out, taking his hands in hers. For a moment, the chaos of the station, the threat of the Cryvans, and the weight of galactic expectations faded. There were only the two of them, standing together among the stars. But life in the galaxy rarely stays peaceful. Reports came in. The Cryvans had retreated, but their fleet remained in nearby sectors. They would strike again if humans showed weakness. And yet, in that moment, the human spirit, resilient, clever, and indomitable, had already proven itself. Lyra squeezed his hands. "Jaden, do you know what this means? Humans, you, all of us, we're finally being noticed. Not just for our work, not just for our intelligence, but for what makes us human. Courage, empathy, heart. And we've earned respect from those who thought us weak." Jaden nodded, feeling a surge of pride. "It feels right. Like humans are finally getting the recognition they deserve. Not because we demanded it, but because we earned it." She smiled. "Exactly. And in this galaxy, that's more valuable than any weapon or fleet." The moment was serene, but it also marked a turning point. Across the station, humans worked alongside alien allies with a newfound confidence. Diplomats praised human ingenuity, engineers marveled at human improvisation, and even alien observers noted that humans were not to be underestimated. And for Jaden, Lyra, and the countless humans on Elysium Station, it was also deeply personal. Their courage had not only saved the station, but had also allowed private hopes to surface, to be seen and cherished. As the station settled into calm once again, Jaden and Lyra walked along the observation deck, the stars stretching endlessly before them. He felt her hand in his, warm and real. "Do you think we can face whatever comes next?" he asked, smiling. Lyra nodded, eyes full of determination and affection. "Together, yes. Humans always find a way, and so do you. The Cryvans might attack again. Other dangers awaited in uncharted space. But humanity had shown the galaxy something undeniable. Even in moments of crisis, when the odds were stacked against them, humans could adapt, survive, and thrive. And sometimes even a private wish, whispered quietly in the heart, could come true. Jadden looked out at the stars, feeling a profound sense of possibility. He had learned that courage was not just in action, but in honesty. And that honesty spoken at the right time to the right person could change lives. He turned to Lyra, smiling, his private wish now shared and reciprocated. "You know," he said softly, "I never expected this, that you'd actually say yes." She laughed gently, the sound carrying across the deck. "Sometimes the most unexpected moments are the most real. You just have to take a chance, Jadden, and you did." He nodded, squeezing her hand. "I guess humans aren't so private when it comes to wishes anymore." She smiled. "Not when they're worth sharing." For the first time, Jadden felt fully seen, fully appreciated, and fully human. He realized that human strength was not just in technology, not just in courage, but in connection, empathy, and heart. In moments of danger, humans could shine. And in moments of truth, they could reach for their deepest wishes and see them come true. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and unknown dangers, but Jadden no longer feared them. Humans, with all their flaws and brilliance, had proven themselves. And he and Lyra together had proven that even the smallest, quietest wish could ignite something extraordinary. As Elysium Station hummed gently under the light of distant stars, Jadden and Lyra stood together, looking forward hand in hand, ready for whatever the galaxy might throw at them next. For the humans of Elysium Station, for Jadden and Lyra, and for all who dared to dream quietly, the universe had learned a simple truth. Never underestimate the courage, ingenuity, and heart of a human being. And sometimes, the most private wishes, when voiced with courage, could change not just a life, but the entire galaxy.